Lovely Florence, Italy. Today I'm going to share with you some tips on places to see while you're in Florence. You can check out my other video on Rome where I share overall tips about visiting Italy, like learning some of the language and what to wear. But let's jump in and talk about Florence. Florence, so picturesque. I think you're going to love it there. This is Graciously Gloria. Thanks for joining today. So we arrived via train. We came from Rome via train to Florence. And the tip I share with you there is if you're going to be traveling a lot via train, the carry-on only is really the best option. I do like to bring a check bag at time, but going on and off the train and up and down stairs, make it easier for yourself and just bring that smaller luggage because you're going to also find some different cobblestone streets. Now, the train ride is about an hour and a half from Rome to Florence, and you can pre-book that, and I would encourage you to do that. And you can have assigned seats that way. And I'll put some information below about the train system there. I like to book the train ahead of time because not only do I know what time I need to get on the train, but that way I have electronic train tickets. So then I don't have to worry as much about validating a paper ticket because it's online and I can easily show that on my phone. So that's a great way to travel in Italy is to get that app and pre-book the train tickets. Now, when we arrived, we wanted to check out the Uffizi Gallery, and I also got a time ticket. Get Your Guide is a great resource there. Time tickets, again, are going to save you time in line, yeah, precious vacation time. And you want to make sure that you get in because the people that are waiting in line, depending on how crowded and what time of year you go, you may not be able to get in even that day, perhaps, if they've already booked so many pre-purchased tickets. So I would encourage you highly, especially during the busy travel season, to pre-book your time tickets. So we had a time to go at 11:30, and the Uffizi Gallery, so much to see there. One highlight is Botticelli's Birth of Venus, which you might be familiar with. I'm going to pop in some different photos of the Uffizi Gallery. You have pieces by Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and so many different, especially Renaissance art is very popular at that gallery. It was very enjoyable. Now for lunch, I actually had planned on a place that was like gone viral sandwich shop, but once we got there, the line was super long. And my husband's like, I don't want to have to wait in such a long line just to eat. And I thought, really wasn't supposed to be a really good sandwich, but I heard what he said. And he likes to be a little bit more spontaneous finding food than I do. I'm much of a planner. Right near that sandwich place looked like a nice restaurant to go to that had its windows and doors open out to the public. And so you could kind of do some people watching and enjoy your meal at the same time. And we had a lovely meal there. So it wasn't one I had planned on, but we went there and it was Osteria del Leone. And I can pop a link below for you on that one. But that was, I think, perhaps even one of our favorite meals we had in Florence. Was a surprise one. So there you go. For all my planning that I love to do, sometimes a surprise one is good. Now, that is a great travel tip for you there, just being flexible. I do find that if I am flexible, I like to have a plan and like I'm going to go from point A to B at this time to that time. But I have learned that being flexible does make it more enjoyable because sometimes whoever you're with might get tired and they might not be up to going to all the places that you want to go, or you might be the one who doesn't want to go to as many places and your person you're traveling with does. So just that flexibility is important, and sometimes putting a plan by the wayside and trying something new and being spontaneous at the time is important too when traveling, and just keeping that good attitude along the way. Now, we went to a really unique museum because I wanted to find places kind of off the beaten path that maybe not everyone knows about and goes to, and it would perhaps be less crowded and just a unique experience. So I found a gem museum. It's Ufficio della Pietre. Okay, again, I took Spanish, not Italian, so I'm going to try, and I don't know if it's my pronunciation, how it sounds on these things, but sorry about that if I'm saying it wrong. But anyways, this museum gem, I'm going to pop some photos in there. It was just lovely. It's like really interesting. They have videos that you learn the artistry and how talented these people are to take all those different gemstones and different stones and cut them into these like minute little pieces to make a beautiful piece of art. It makes you really appreciate that art when you're looking at it. I loved this find and I would recommend it. It again was unique and not as crowded to visit there. So I would say, so get there if you can. Now, the other thing we did a walk along the Ponte Vecchio, and that has a lot of different shops on it. A thing that to know is that's the oldest bridge in Florence. It's actually survived a lot of things like bombing of World War II. It survived. So I thought it was lovely. And you can also, like I said, shop there, and it's a great place to see a sunset in that area too. Leather is really prominent in Florence and a great place to get some quality leather while you're there. You can find some different street vendors selling leather and also shops. So I found out they have a leather school. So I thought that would be so great. I could be sure that I was getting authentic Italian leather and see a little bit more about the process as well. So that school is called Scuola del Sisio, and we bought leather belts. So I can pop in a photo there and pop in. I'll show you the artist in there, and what he did is he was able to even size the belt and put the little holes in for you depending on the size that you needed for your belt. And I thought that was fun too because it was more personalized that way. They also had leather jackets, leather wallets, all different kinds of leather goods there, and um, really high quality as well. An iconic structure in Florence is the Duomo, and we walked by that a couple different times while we were in Florence on the way here and there, but wanted to make sure we got to see it too. Just lovely. And so very picturesque. And we didn't go in the inside, but we saw the outside. And I would say definitely stop by there and get some photos of that. Now, one thing you're going to find in Florence and in Rome, all throughout Italy, is gelato everywhere. And we did enjoy probably gelato every day of our trip. I probably don't eat that much ice cream. I really don't eat that much ice cream on a daily basis. Ice cream is my husband's favorite treat. And again, pistachio was my favorite flavor, but they have just chocolate, so many really good for hazelnut. And I would say enjoy the gelato. You're going to find so many different shops there. I would say the more authentic places are going to be maybe a street off of at least like the main attractions is a tip there. Finding, food and gelato as well is just get a little bit further away from a main attraction. And that's a travel tip for you. Now we had a reservation for dinner. And one thing for as far as making reservations, some of them do allow you to make that online. There was a few that I found that were more perhaps more local places that didn't have that you could just that wanted you to call, for example. So I did have for one of my locations, our Airbnb person, he had offered to make a reservation for us if need be, and that was nice. And so he called for me and made a reservation at one of the locations, and I'll mention that one a little bit later. The one we went to that evening was Ostero Cialvino, and we had a reservation at 7:30. So again, in Italy, they do eat dinner a little bit later. You can enjoy an aperitivo, which is their fun happy hour, which includes a nice snack like some olives, some salami, some bread, things like that with your cocktail. So that way, then you have a little nibble of something and enjoy a later evening dinner. Like I shared with you in the Rome one, you are going to need to ask for the check when you're in Italy. They are not going to rush you. They're going to allow you to enjoy your dinner at a leisurely pace. And so they do not want to rush you at dinner time. And it just, the food is so yummy. All the homemade pasta. Florence is also well known for their Florentine steak. It is served very rare. So they do char the outside. I can pop in a photo. My husband had that one of the evenings and I had some of it too. And it's a very large portion and it is delicious. I tend to be a little afraid to eat things too rare, but I decided, what they call it, when in Rome. So I'm like, when in Florence, I'm going to try this. And they do have so many enjoyable dishes to do, from fish, seafood, all kinds of lovely things to eat in Florence. Now, the next day we wanted to see the countryside of Tuscany. So Florence itself is in the region of Tuscany. But then you have what's called the Tuscan countryside. So we wanted to do a tour to see that so we can get as many places in and kind of get a glimpse of that to decide, if that'd be a place we'd love to go back and visit. And we definitely would love to go back and visit that Tuscan countryside. It was just beautiful, the rolling hills and the lovely architecture. So let me share with you a little bit more about what we did there. So the tour was all day, and I can pop in the link for the tour that we did. It started from 8 a.m. to like about 8 p.m. So all day there, but include the transportation, and we did the one that included the lunch as well. It's special lunch, so I'll talk about that. This one went to Sienna, San Gimignano, and Pisa. Okay, so first let's talk about Sienna. Oh, wow. I love that cathedral. It was stunning. It had beautiful marble, which I've never seen this such beautiful marble. They called it red marble, but to me it was more of a shade of pink. So I'll pop in some photos of that. And that was just on the outside. And then once you go in the inside, oh my goodness, it was just so lovely. They had this white and it was like a greenish black marble columns, and you were able to walk around and see. And part of the tour includes your ticket to get inside there. Now, keep in mind when you're going into cathedrals, you do need to have your shoulders covered and your knees covered. So I tended on those days just wear a maxi dress, ladies, and that way, if you have one that's covering your shoulders and covering your knees, you're all set there. Another thing you do is bring a shawl to wrap around your shoulders, but you also want to make sure that you have something that's covering your knees. So even for gentlemen, they can't be wearing shorts. They need to be wearing some kind of pants that cover their knees there to go inside the cathedral. And I did see they were giving out, I don't know if it was that cathedral or a different one, but they were giving out these paper shawl scarves to ladies to wear who didn't have one. But don't count on that they might have something like that available. And just, I would say, just dress accordingly. We had some time to walk around Sienna as well, and it was just so, like I said, charming. It had the yellow ochre buildings and the terracotta rooftops, and just what you picture the Tuscan countryside to look like. Next, we got to go to an authentic Tuscan lunch, and this was at a vineyard. Pop in some photos there. So lovely, the view, and then we really enjoyed the wine, especially the Chianti. And this was an organic winery, and the food was so delicious. We had things like pasta, prosciutto, local cheese, and just one of the highlights of our day there in the Tuscan countryside. Can imagine just going back there and having some more leisurely time to do things like that. And then we also went to, they had the Piazza del Campo with the medieval square and some picturesque streets. In the San Gimignano, it has a medieval skyline, and we enjoyed some yummy gelato there. Then next we went to the town of Pisa. Now, some things there I liked and didn't like. One thing is our tour guide did let us know ahead of time that there's a lot of pickpocketers there. So you do want to be aware. And I have some videos on different purses to wear, like especially like my travel on purse or the pom pom London with the special little zipper loop that makes it harder for someone to get into your purse. And my husband had a anti-theft little sling backpack that he brought on to this day trip with us. So be aware of the pickpocketers in the area. But once you're there, the favorite thing was to do was that Tower of Pisa. It's so iconic, right? So we got the fun, like I'm trying to hold up the tower photos. I got some of my husband doing that. Why did it lean? It was because the ground was soft and unstable, and so that's what causes the tilt right after they were building it. And they had to do some engineering over the years to work to stabilize that leaning so it didn't fall all the way over. And so that was kind of interesting. I thought it was interesting to see that, but the surrounding area felt very touristy as far as like little gadget, little knick-knacky things with the Tower of Pisa on it, like a magnet and all that. If that's something you like, then you would enjoy that, but it wasn't, my favorite. But we did end up having a little extra time and did get I got a lemon spritz at this location while we were waiting for the rest of the tour to peruse around, and then made it back on the tour bus and came back in time for dinner. Now, this one was one that was recommended by our Airbnb host, and it was Osteria del Cinjale Bianco. And okay, what was really neat about this is he got us a reservation. So this one he had called for us, and it had this little small stairwell and a private table. So it was kind of so unique to the place. And they had other regular tables that you can enjoy dinner there, but it was so fun. I did feel bad for the waiter having to go up this little narrow staircase to bring food and drinks up back and forth, but it was just felt like so private and romantic to have that special spot for my husband and I, and we really did enjoy that. So I would recommend that location. Then wanted to check out the fountains in the evening and went to the Florence Piazza del Signore, the Piazza della Signoria, and had the Fountain of Neptune. So I'll pop in a photo of that, and that was a lovely thing to do after dinner and walk around. So then the next day in Florence, what did we do then? Well, we went to a market, and that was the Mercato di Sant'Ambrogio, and I got some yummy olives. Okay, now the thing about that, I didn't know how much, the signage, I really didn't know how much it was going to cost me. And so I kind of just tried to show the person oh, just like this much, like a little bit, because she was trying to give me a huge thing of olives. I just wanted a snack of them. And then I didn't know how much to pay her. So I just gave some euros, and then she gave me some change. I just trusted that she would give me the proper change. It wasn't a large quantity or a large amount of money I was purchasing. So it was just a whole bit of trust there. And I got some really delicious fresh olives from that market. And that was fun to peruse a local market. And then wanted to go to this perfumery. So the Officio, and this was called the Officino Profuma Farmaceutico, Santa Maria Novella. Okay, so this was perfume, and that they had a lovely display when I was there, and recommend that perfumery. My husband decided not to go in with me, but that was fine. I enjoyed it. And then they also have another market nearby, a Mercato Centrale food market, and you can get things like a fresh pasta lunch there even. Made it by a basilica. We went just to the outside of the St. Croce Basilica, and that has a neo-Gothic facade. So I'll pop in a photo of that. And again, you want to wear some really nice walking shoes. I love my on-cloud walking shoes. I also got some different Italian leather shoes before my trip, which I guess got while I was there. But the Gemini and my husband really loved his New Balance shoes. And you're going to be walking a lot. So you're going to burn off those calories of that gelato and some yummy different pasta that you're going to have there too. But we had a reservation then in the afternoon to see the Pitti Palace and the Boboli Gardens. And we did a combo ticket. So you can do a ticket for one or the other, or a combo to see both. And I'll pop in some photos of that. They had lovely art, some stunning chandeliers. Once again, they're just the chandeliers are so lovely at these places. I had mentioned a different one in Rome that I loved, that Princess Isabella apartments that just had stunning chandeliers. And that's my goal one day, to have really lovely chandeliers. I remember my mom had this really lovely chandelier in our living room, and someday I'm going to have a lovely chandelier as well. And so at this location, also lovely vases and a garden with a view out. And I'm going to add some photos to that. And that we went to also the Bardini, and that had a great vista view. And in the evening, a great place to see the sunset is the Piazza Michelangelo. And then, like I said, that has a great view. You can even have some sunset drinks on the steps. We didn't end up doing that part, but we did enjoy the view. And I think at that point, my husband was really tired from the walking, but I was like, I really need to see this view. And so he indulged me, and we did that. And that was nice. And then we had dinner at the Vino Vecchio Sapore, and we had a reservation there. Now we end up changing that reservation to a later time because everything was taking a little bit longer to get to see all the things I wanted to see. So we ended up eating dinner a lot later, like at 9 o'clock, I think, that evening. Now, some places that we didn't make it to, and here is the thing. This is the real thing about traveling. For me, especially, I overbook. I tend to overbook my day and put more things than possibly I could see, or that especially my husband has the willingness to keep up with all the places, and he'll he tends to want to just take a break and relax a little bit more on a vacation. But especially in a place like this, like Italy, I just feel like how many times am I ever going to get back there? I want to see as much as I can see. But I did have tickets sent to the Medici Chapel. We didn't see that, but luckily the tickets weren't too expensive. It was like about $15 each. And so we were just too tired to make it there one of the mornings. Another thing that I found was a wine window. We didn't make it by there, but Bebe wine window, which is fun. And apparently they did that back in the day because you were taxed on how large, like the front was, the storefront was, and since it was a very small window to give you your item, then the tax was less. But they still have a few of those left around Florence, and that's fun. And wanted to make it to another aperitivo, but again, it was a bit tired that one day, so we didn't make it to the Loggia rooftop aperitivo, but that's another idea of something to do in Florence too. So these are some great things that you want to see in Florence. Just, you could, if you don't want to make it to all the places that I suggest, just enjoying that leisurely time walking around and enjoying the sights. Like I said, it's so picturesque. I thought the people in Italy were so lovely and warm and welcoming. So I know that you'll enjoy your time in Florence. If you've been, put in the comments to me what your favorite thing to do in Florence. So the next video I'm going to do on the Cinque Terre, which is that lovely seaside villages that we made it to. But like I said, you can check out my Rome video for great tips about visiting Rome and overall trips to Italy. And please press the like button if you like this and subscribe for more great travel videos. You can look at my playlist for lots of different ideas. I even have ones on things like New Orleans, Charleston, lots of destinations, Aruba. And stay tuned for even more travel destination videos in the future. Appreciate your time today and happy travels to you.